Hey there YouTube, AJ here, and today we're still on this cow. It's attached to the front to the subframe. I riveted all this last time. That's nice and sturdy and solid. However, back here at the A-pillars, we're not attached, so I have to weld in those. Now, I've done a lot of measuring from the dash down to the sub rails into the frame, and from the dash rail back to the door openings, etc., etc. The passenger side door is opening and closing pretty well, fits pretty nice. However, the driver's side door, you can see how it's not lined up and it's too far back. I can force it closed, but that's not what we want. Some of that I think will be alleviated when we get in here and get these lined up correctly on both sides, the A-pillars, and welded in. This, you can see, needs to go back. And then I also noticed that my B-pillar here is all bent out of shape. It's actually kind of twisted out. And on the outside of the car here, the body is kind of swelled out, where on the other side it doesn't do that. So this whole B-pillar needs twisted back into the interior of the car, I think. And down here, I definitely did, where this bump is here, this is all bent out of shape here. So we got to do a little work on that. But before we want to do that, before I'm going to do that, I want to go ahead and get these welded in. So let's real quick clean up the metal to where we can weld on it, and we'll get started trying to get this lined up and attached. Okay, I don't know if I got that completely cleaned up enough to weld, but we're going to try it. Parts of it looks good. I think it'll burn through what's left of the paint on there. So I'm going to start on this door since it seems to be aligned the best. And let's see if we can get these lined up a little better and start welding it together. I'm going to start with this back flange here. That seems to be the one I can get lined up the easiest. Door still shut, so that's nice. Do I have that quite as far in? I need to get the top in just a little bit more. That's pretty good there. All right. So, yeah, I think that'll be good for a start. We'll try to get this back flange welded in. It's not the greatest, especially back in there. It was hard. I didn't get a great looking weld, but it's solid. I do plan on bracing this A-pillar somehow later on to make it all more solid. But for now, everything's still lined up. Door opens and shuts. Still got our good gaps on this side. I do think that in the end, once I get these welded in, it starts straightening up this back seat area. I think ultimately where whoever previously tacked these together, this sub rail here and on the driver's side here, I think I'm gonna have to cut both those apart and then get the remaining door fit together. I don't see any way around that now, especially on this driver's side door. That's sitting so far back. So, and like I said, I can't force this to go if I lean back and twist and push on everything. I can do that, but you know, that's not the way you want it to be in the end. You want it to be where the doors open and shut fairly easily. All right, well, let's see if we can get this other A-pillar welded together. Okay, we got both sides welded together as good as I'm going to get it, I guess. I might try to hit this one from the back side, or I might try to weld in some more bracing. I don't think I'm going to do it right now. I think the bracing will wait. Let's see about this side. As you can see, it's way out of whack here, so get this all up in position. This gap's really too tight. We're fine on our front gap. We're not in line at the bottom at all, and that's where I think this is kind of out of whack. So I think that's what we're going to work on next, is trying to see if we can do something here. I'm going to start just by trying to bend this plate piece straight, because it kind of comes down, bends in, and then jogs back out real bad. And on the other side, this is just all one straight line. So I kind of feel this right here in the middle is the line we should be following.
I'm gonna stay off the top for the most part. Really try to focus on the bottom.
Let's see if it's any better. Well, it latched easier that time. Our bottom's still really far out of whack. What's making that happen? We have a huge gap at the bottom of the door that's not at the top. Maybe the B pillar has been bent in some. It's definitely closing easier because it's not hitting here anymore. We still have that swell, almost like this needs to, like this B pillar. Yeah, B pillar needs to turn, twist that way. Maybe the panel's just dented in like that? Maybe that's what it is. There is a crease on the outside, like right here. I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not, but watch the way this twists over when I shove in the bottom of the door. See that? That's where the door needs to sit. And it completely twists this side over. Let's go close the passenger door and try that again. Now it seems like this is too high with that passenger door closed. Oh, there we go. Alright, so it's closed, and now passenger door popped open because it's not latching, and now try to shove the bottom of the door in where it needs to go. Pop the door, twisted the whole thing. Let's see if we can get this a little straighter. Okay, it's not too bad, it's pretty straight. Now I might be able to get some of this fixed with shimming the body around too, so I'm not real worried about that yet. But I am going to have to cut the subframe apart where it's tacked together in order to get these joints to line up correctly. But before I do that, I want to take and get this back piece in shape, because I have a feeling it needs to hold its shape correctly in order for the sides to hold their shape correctly. So as you can see, it's ripped here. Someone's put a brace in here. I want that to come out because of how I'm going to refix it. It's bent up and twisted and ripped all along the way. It's been dinged. It's got a bullet hole in it. It's got a big oil can in it. So I want to try to get this in some kind of shape and strengthened before I cut that sub rail apart. So what I'm thinking, there's many ways you can do this. You can take square tubing, like 1-inch square tubing, build a framework in here. There's things like that you can do. It's not how I'm going to do it. When I got it, there was a piece of 3/16" steel bolted all along the bottom of this, but even that had been bent up and twisted. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is make some bracing out of 18 gauge steel, bend up some hat channel to form to the back of this, and then put a brace around the bottom of it, and then for it to all hold itself together that way. Why am I doing that? Because I got a whole bunch of 18-inch, gosh darn it, 18 gauge sheet metal that I bought for this project, mainly to do the floors, but I have a whole bunch extra. So I can bend up that to make these braces, and I think it'll be just as strong as like if I use 1-inch tubing, and it might even be a little lighter. So in the end, anyhow, that's my next step. But the first thing I want to do before I do that is start doing some hammer and dolly work on this flange to get it halfway straight and get rid of the bullet hole finally, and we'll go from there. All right, so I got some hammers, I got some dollies. Let's see if we can get this somewhat straightened out. Okay, just a little work with hammer and dolly. Got this edge tuned up much better. It's not done yet, but it's much better than it was. The bullet hole, it's been reduced to a little tiny hole. The oil canning, it's still there, but it's not near as bad as it was. It used to be the whole panel. Now it's just right here in the center here. So it's a lot better. This edge still needs to go up, but this extra layer someone welded in here is causing me problems. So I got to get rid of this next. I'm going to wire brush it and see if I can see some spot welds or whatever, how they attached it before I start prying on it. Last thing I want to do is tear up my original lip on top. So okay, so you can see it looks like there's some spot welds here, here. Looks like there might be 1 or 2 or 3 along this back edge, and I can't tell down here. There might be some down here, but I can't see them. So I guess we'll try to drill out the ones on top first, and hopefully we can peel this piece off here. Okay, I got that piece out of there, and yeah, it's pretty. There's like a really round part in here that needs to come out. That should be straight. So we got to do some more hammer and dolly work back on this flange to get this flange back in order. But we're getting there. All right, we've got this edge looking so much better now, you know, minus all the tears that need to be repaired. But yeah, it's pretty much straight. Yeah, it's a little wavy right here. That's a little more hammer and dolly work. I'm not worried about that yet. I just wanted to get it to where now I can start working on my inner bracing here to fix this. And I think the last thing I'm going to do today is strip this down. Before I put in my bracing, I want to strip it down and then paint it, because that's just the way I work. Okay, well, I put the cart ahead of the horse again and went ahead and painted this before I welded up the holes I need to weld up and these cracks. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But the first thing I'm going to do is take and drill a hole at the end of these cracks where they run, here, here, and hopefully that'll stop them from continuing to run after I weld it up. This metal's pretty thin, so hopefully I can weld to it without it just blowing holes. That was not fun. I chased a ton of pinholes. There's still pinholes in it. I think I've got it good enough now though to where I can go ahead and start the reinforcement, and then I can deal with the pinholes when I do the body work from the backside later. I think that'll be good. It is a lot sturdier. Just getting this welded back together. I took a hammer and dolly and went over the dents in this thing just really roughly, and I got rid of all the oil canning, so that's good. But it's good and sturdy now, and to be quite honest, if it was just me riding around in this car, I'd let it go like this and be fine with it. But hopefully my wife will want to ride in it with me, and so I want to make it safer for her. So I'm going to start the next part where I'm going to build a reinforcement around this. Now originally I was going to make a flange to come up to weld onto here, come up into this, bend out, then come up over the lip and then over the lip here. Quite honestly, as good as this turned out, I don't think I'm going to need that. I might need to patch some of this later to get rid of those pinholes. Welding this up and chasing pinholes blowing out made me realize why people just put in patches. Because yeah, I had a lot of that to deal with. I'm going to run with it the way it is for now, and like I said, if I ever need to patch it, I will. I'll leave room. So instead of doing that flange starting on this panel going up, I'm just going to have it come out from here, go up, and then fold over this edge here. And basically I don't want this, you know, this is a single edge of sheet metal here, and it's too sharp. And I think originally they had interior that wrapped over this or something, so that kept you from, you know, cutting your arm. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have separate seats inside. I'm not going to have an interior wrap. I am going to put a trim piece on here, but I'm going to fold this metal, bring this flange out, up, and then fold it over. That'll give me a nice thick rounded edge of metal here, whatever that is. So I'm just going to hit the bare spots now with rust reformer, and then we'll start making that flange. And I will say, once I shut the doors, it gets really, the whole front is very, very sturdy now. So that's really nice. But yeah, onto that flange. Let's start here, kind of a square space. Put in this cardboard. We're going to fold it, break it at that edge, and then do the same again. Okay, so in the end, we're kind of looking for a piece like that. That'll go around this piece all the way around from this corner to that corner over there. However, I'm going to make it in 2 sections and then weld it together in the middle, because a couple of reasons. One, having a shorter piece will be easier to work, I think. And then 2, my sheet metal brake is only 3 foot long, and that's more than 3 foot if I try to do it in one piece. So I can't break it very easily. So this is 2 inches. I got these pieces of 18 gauge steel off Facebook Marketplace. I got quite a few pieces really cheap. They're all the same size. And I also got some pieces of aluminum the same size. The guy was involved in making firewalls for buses, and these were the drops out of the firewalls. So
just gonna go ahead and mark a 1/4 inch on this. In a few places. And then just mark where I need to go.
now to cut this. Alright, so we're just going to use the middle here to mark our flange depth. And I know it's not going to be straight, so I'll probably just average that out and break it straight across there. And then we'll start trying to make it curve to fit the body. Okay, my brake is not in a very conducive place to using it, but we're going to try it anyway. Actually be the first time I use this brake. I got it off Facebook Marketplace, like everything else. And yeah, I've just never used it yet. So we're gonna give it a try. It's just a Harbor Freight brake. You know, I wouldn't want to build cars for a living with it, but hopefully it'll at least do what I need it to do. Okay, hopefully that'll do it. Got it clamped in. And yeah, it's not even sitting level on the ground right now. It's piled up on stuff. I didn't want to feel like moving my Jeep and all this stuff. So hopefully I can make do. We'll see what we can do here. Oh man, that did not go at all. Why did that slide out? Something went wrong. Oh, the leaf slid. Shoot. Is that not tight? Something's not tight. This side of the bending leaf slid back. I don't know why. I guess that bolt over there is not tight, so we got to get a bolt and got to fix that. Okay, that bolt was not tight at all, so hopefully that fixes the problem. Let's try this again. Hopefully we can make it bend this time. Oh, I could use longer handles. Hey, not bad. All right. That's pretty much right at 90. Man, it's a little past maybe. Yeah, it's a little past, but we can hammer that back. Cool, works. Good job. Okay, so the idea is to make this flange follow around to here. As you can see, here to here, I gotta curve it a lot, and then a lot less curved on this one. So we'll start working on getting this main curve in first. I'm going to focus on this area here, and I'll be stretching this to make make it curve this way, you know, to follow it so it'll fit under here. Once we get that much where it's close, we can start working the rest of this curve. Okay, so we'll take this to our shrinker stretcher now, start stretching this. All right, so I just got these shrinker stretchers and I just made this stand, I think in my last video. So go check that out if you haven't seen how I made my stand. I am working on fixing the stand a little bit because it's not too bad using this side, but when I go to use this side, it wants to tip a little bit. So I've made these leg extensions that are drying right now with paint, and I'm going to be bolting those onto my feet there to make it more sturdy. But in the meantime, I want to go ahead and start working on it. We'll just suffer with the tipping. Yeah, this will be our first actual piece I'm building with it. So let's see what happens. So here we go. Alright, so I learned some lessons already. It's best to start further out on the edge and work your way in. That makes it curve faster. If you run it all the way in, it doesn't curve it as much. So I'm going to run in right now and see how it fits right now. Alright, let's see how we're doing. Ooh, not too bad. Start a little further out this way. Need to go, I don't know, 3 inches. We'll start with that. Start curving that in as well. This part here doesn't look too bad. We want to work more on this curve about 3 inches in. So we'll focus here and through here right now. Okay, well, as you can see, I overstretched it here. That needs to go back. But that's not the big problem. The bigger problem is I have enough to turn over the edge here, but not much. And as I get closer to this end, I'm getting less and less, to the point down in this corner, I don't have enough to bend over the edge. I don't know what I did there. Yeah, I screwed up. So I think what I got to do is make this again, but just leave a lot of extra flange on the other side. But yeah, not bad for our first try. You know, I am learning here. So I'm gonna go cut another piece, a wider piece, rebend that piece, and try to match it to here. That's all we can do. Alright, so now we're back to at least where we were, and you can see here I got it pretty close. Need to curve this part here more. Be doing a lot of back and forth, checking, stretching, checking, stretching. All right, okay, well, it's fitting pretty good over here. around to this point. Okay, well, my camera died last night just as I was getting this one into place, but I didn't quit working. I went ahead and made another one, and I got that one clamped into place. That one went a lot quicker. I hit the profile just about dead on the first time. I had very little to do there. However, the angle I bent into this was less than 90 degrees, and so it kind of didn't want to stand up straight enough for me over here. So I kind of got impatient and just took a hammer and beat on it and bent it into place. But anyway, it's good now. So I think my next step to do is to try to spot weld this into place here. And to do that, I got a new toy. And we're going to try to put spot welds here and here, maybe here. Try to get 3 in this corner. And maybe not, because that's kind of, that needs hammered back in yet. But we're definitely going to try to put 2 in here and see if we can get it to hold just the beginning. And we'll see if it'll weld straight through the car steel, the 18 gauge steel here, and between, on the bottom side of this steel, it is painted. So hopefully it'll still be able to weld through the paint. We're going to find out. Oh, okay, well that's not good. I can't get it all the way down. How are we going to do this? Let's first spot weld through this way, this side, this metal to here. Then maybe we can take off this clamp and come in at the end here. Let's try that first. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and try to throw another one up here. All right, let's take off the clamp, see what happens. Well, the welds held. They didn't spring off. That's a good sign. All right, now let's see if we can get in here and do this one. 3, 2, 1. I would say that was successful. Might need to hold it on there a little longer than through here, but it did weld through there. So let's see if we can get up in here and get another one. All right. This sucker is heavy. You know, to you hold an awkward position, it's heavy. Let's see what we got in here. So we have 1 weld here, 1 weld here, 1 weld here, and 1 weld here. All 4 are held strong. And if we come inside, you can see the 2 on the side here really easy. And you can see here and here where the other welds are. Okay, well, I am really happy about how the spot welder works. I think that's going to make installing this so much easier. Now, one thing I am going to have to do, you know, I build in a lot of extra material, and the height of this flange won't allow my tongs to reach to weld the bottom and the back side here. So I can get along it this way, get that lip. I can do that this way, and I might do a few more spots of that, but I think what I need to do is just go ahead and figure out how much height I need, and then just go ahead and buzz this off so I can get into where I need to get with the spot welder and weld it in. So, I mean, I've only done like half a dozen spot welds with this thing so far, and they're strong. It welded through the paint, which I'm really happy about, that I can leave the paint coating on the bottom of this. Almost makes me wish I had painted the back side of this piece before I did it, but you know, that's the way it goes. What can I say? Other than let's cut this down and let's get this welded in. halfway there. Ooh, that's hot. I am spot welded all the way around to here. And let me tell you, holding that thing out like this, or I guess in the middle of the car, at the end of your arm length, it gives you a workout. It's heavy. But hey, that was pretty fast. I don't know how long it took me overall, but I started getting better as I went. And just gotta weld in the other side now. Okay, it is spot welded all the way around. Gotta do a little straightening up here. Okay, now that we've got this welded in, we're going to start the first bend, where we're just going to bend over this flange 90 degrees. And so in prepping it for being folded down to cap off this, but I want to fold it 90 degrees first and make sure I don't have too much before I try to bend it all the way down. The other reason, I also want to take it kind of slow. I know around the corners especially, I'm expecting to have a problem with the metal wanting to split. If it does split, no big deal. I'll just weld it up later. But I'd like to get it without splitting if we could. To do this, I'm just going to take a hammer. I've got this piece of steel, and it's almost the same height as the body flange here. It's just a little taller. So hopefully I'm just going to take and get this started with this, and then when we get it over to 90 degrees and it bends, it'll bend the rest of the way down once we bend it the full 180 degrees flat with the body. So we're just going to go. This is a little too tall for around the corner. The flange is a little shorter here. Need to see if I can find something thinner. Try using our dolly, or whatever kind of dolly this is. Okay, so we're halfway. You can see how it's bent here around. So now I'm just going to go ahead and bend this flange to catch it up. And once we do, then I guess we'll try to figure out how we're going to make this bend all the way down. Okay, I forgot to film, but I took this chunk of plate, ran around, got it a lot more square. So we don't want any of this flange to be thicker than this piece here. So we're just going to check it all, and any place it's thicker, we're going to mark it, and we'll trim it back, like right there. Ow. Gotta be really careful, man. I got a lot of sharp edges here. So that needs trimmed.
Good there. Good there. That one good there. Not good there. Good there. Head back a bit.
And just a little bit off the ends here. We'll probably end up trimming these and reshaping these anyway, but now we got to figure out how we're going to bend this the rest of the way. Oh, before we do that, you know what we're going to do? We're going to spray some rust reformer in here. Maybe I'll clean it up again real good and then spray some rust reformer in here. That way have some protection. Okay, we'll let that dry and we'll come back tomorrow and see how we can bend this down. All right, I'm ready to break this edge over. I want to be really careful about not collapsing the original flange on the body though. So I don't want to just start hammering on this. So I think what I'm going to try to do here is take these vice screws. Oops. start trying to roll the edge down. Probably pretty hard to see from your angle, but it is bending just a little bit. I don't want to go too much at a time. Ow. This may be completely unnecessary, but I'm still going to try to do it this way. Thought process is, once I go through this once, getting it to start to bend, then I can tighten up the vice grips and go through another round until I think it'll, maybe I can just start hammering it, I don't know. But the idea is to get it bending on its way before I start with the hammer, so I don't damage the actual body flange. Some of that bent pretty good, so I might be able to just go ahead and start hammering it. Let me get this side caught up. Okay, so far that seems to be working pretty good. I guess the benefit of not knowing how to do this stuff is you don't know what you can and can't do. So sometimes you just do and hope it works out. All right, we're going to tighten this down a little bit. Go for another round. All right, well that bent pretty good the second round. I think I might see what I can do with the hammer and dolly, see if I can make it move a little faster. I don't know. I'm trying to guess what the best way to do this is. Either hammer down or I think I need to try to hammer down first. Let's throw on some ear protection, see what happens. Well, we've got that all hemmed over. It's welded in place. Ran real quick. Use this as a depth guide. Ran around the edge of it. It's a little high there. Maybe there's a little bit of difference here. It's a little lower in the middle than out at the edges. But overall, pretty consistent on height. It goes up and down a little bit, but not enough that I'm worried about it. I have an idea of what I'm going to do to trim this out here later, but for now, done, with the exception, somehow here in the middle, I cut this too short when I cut it. So I need to weld a piece in there to fill the gap. That shouldn't be too difficult. I also have a few blowouts with the spot welder that I need to fill, so we'll do that. However, for now, I think we're gonna call this step done. I think I'm gonna end the video here because it's getting long. Okay, well, I did my outro. And then I got to thinking after I was done about this strip here in the middle. I'm gonna at least cut this strip, spot weld it in, so it's not bothering me. And it's not going to be very wide. Basically, I'm just going to put it in here, spot weld the bottom, spot weld it in this hole, and then we'll weld it together later. Okay, we need some pliers or something. Nope. Okay. See if we can possibly weld this in without it blowing apart. Okay, so far so good. We need to bend this over. Okay, we'll have to re-weld all that, fill it in and file it, but I think I'm just going to be pretty good for now. Let's wonder if I can get a spot weld to go through the whole thing. Nice. All right, so now we got that little gap filled. I will weld all that together when I weld in the other pieces. But for now, this is done again. And I return you back to the outro. And I'm not done with reinforcing the back of this yet. I mean, it is really sturdy. The front cab is nice and sturdy now. This stiffened it up so much. I got rid of all the oil canning in this panel, so that's cool. I'm really happy with the way this is turning out. And most importantly, now it's got this nice rounded finished edge all the way around the back of the cab, instead of just that raw piece of sheet metal edge sticking up. It's not sharp. You can lay your arm up here as you're driving. Don't have to worry about the sheet metal edge cutting you or just being uncomfortable. It'll be even more comfortable once I put my trim piece in here. So yeah, I like that a lot. I do need to tune it up a little bit with a hammer and dialing, make it a little more consistent. You know, you can still see all the hammer marks, but you know, that's finished body work later. A little bit of welding here, a little bit of welding here. To be honest, I got more welding to do later, so I'm just gonna let that go. Speaking of later, the next step is, I'm not done bracing this back panel yet. Like I said earlier, I want to take this car, especially the front cab, I want to make it feel as solid as possible. I don't want it to be a rickety car because my wife won't want to ride in it if that's the case. So I want it to feel as much like a car as it can. Most of the time there will never be anybody in the back seat. It's just going to be, you know, her and I. But that said, I'm not going to chintz out on the back either. I'm going to do it well too. But the next step for this is I'm going to put in some vertical braces. I think I'm going to put one in the center and then two off to the side. Reasons being for that, to stiffen this all up again, make it stronger. I am going to be putting more braces into the side later, but I'm also going to be doing an interior in this car, and I need something to attach the interior panels to. So I plan on doing that, having an interior panel across the back, on the sides, everything. And the reason I'm not going after those braces right now, the one thing I found when I tried to bend these up was my sheet metal brake definitely needs some tuning and maybe some modification in order to bend the 18 gauge sheet metal better. I wasn't really happy with the way this bent. I mean, I didn't bend it in optimum circumstances, and I'm pretty sure the clamp was loose, whatever. I'm making excuses, but I got it done. But going forward, I want to be able to make better brakes, because not only am I going to be making these braces, side braces, I'm going to be making splice pieces where I got to put my subframe back together. So I want to be able to get that brake working good. So I think now I'm going to just call this here on this one, start fixing up my sheet metal brake to where it'll bend the 18 gauge correctly before we start tackling these. So until then, YouTube, later.